And then we've got the note catcher that we need. And finally, we have Al Roker, the weatherman. Okay. So if you guys don't know this guy, he works currently for the Today Show. He's a weatherman. That is one person, a meteorologist, right? We know that about weather from our unit. Now, Galileo, if you know anything about him, if we just preview this article really quickly, he lived in 1581, so a really long time ago. What I see here is the inventor of the thermometer and a question mark. So that is asking a question. Was he the inventor of a thermometer? We know that the thermometer is a weather tool. So already we know how these two articles connect. You've got one about a meteorologist today and one about someone who invented the thermometer. So at your note catcher here, I'm going to make copies just in case I need to. Copy. Just in case, because with my luck, it will make the same one for all of you, and we don't want that. And I'm going to make a copy of this one because this is the one that I'm going to model for you too. Okay. Now, Al Roker, you're going to do on your own, so I'm going to X out of him. You've got my copy, and I think we're good to go. What are you? There we go. Okay, so I don't mess up anyone's work. All right, so I'm going to highlight our title because we know that this is a really big clue. We're talking about the thermometer and a guy named Galileo who lived a long time ago. The word inventor, we know that he's an inventor. I know with my background knowledge that he's a scientist. So these are all things we're going to pay attention to. And I'm going to write my name up here. Okay, so text 1, we can go ahead and name it Galileo. Hopefully it's how we spell that. And then over here, we've got Al Roker. Now, when you guys did this assignment the last time, there was some confusion about what it meant with your task here, provide a statement that integrates information from both texts. So we're going to read about Galileo. We're going to write notes here together. Then you're going to read about Al Roker. You're going to write notes there. We're going to talk about any similarities we see. And then your statement, the word integrate, it means to combine. So we're going to write a statement about weather, combining information we learned from Galileo's article and from Al Roker's article. And of course, you want to use a stem, you want to use evidence from the text, and you want to use your reasoning. All right, that's what I'm looking for here. And I am checking this one over, especially with the video, in case I need to make any calls to help you guys further. I don't want you falling behind, okay? So make sure you're doing this well, please. All right, here we go. And I apologize ahead of time. I'm going to butcher some of these Italian names. I'm sorry. So this is a biography, which means that it is fiction or nonfiction. Anybody know? It's weird not having you yell back at me. This is nonfiction, okay? This is about this person's life. So Galileo was born in Pisa, Italy, where he grew up with his brothers and sisters during the Italian Renaissance. His father was a music teacher and a famous musician, and his family moved to the city of Florence when he was 10 years old. It was in Florence that Galileo began his education at the Dolce Montessori. Galileo was an accomplished musician and an excellent student. At first, he wanted to become a doctor, so he went to the University of Pisa to study medicine in 1581. During the time of Galileo, there weren't really scientists as we know them today. People studied the works of classical philosophers and thinkers such as Aristotle. They didn't run experiments or test out ideas. They just believed them to be true. So all of this right here is very important because we know that's not what science is anymore. We test everything out. We don't just believe it because someone says it. Galileo, however, had different ideas. He wanted to test the principles and see if he could observe them in the real world. This was a new concept to the people of his time and laid the foundation for the scientific method. But did Galileo invent the thermometer? Okay, I'm highlighting basically all three of these sentences here. because that's really important. We did the scientific method at the very beginning of the school year, and he basically created this. He was the first person hundreds of years ago to say that we need to test our theories that we think. So I'm going to go over here to my note catcher and just write down some of that important information. One, we know that Galileo was the first person to test science and create experiments. He helped create the scientific method we use today. That was the gist right there. Right, so if we go back, we still have this question that was our question in the original title. But did he invent the thermometer? That's what we're trying to figure out. So anything that we read on from here, we want to write it down if it talks about him inventing the thermometer. So this is a correspondence about the thermometer, and a correspondence means a conversation. So this was a conversation between people about the thermometer. The following excerpt is from The Private Life of Galileo by Marie Celeste Galilei. This information was compiled by Galileo's daughter using letters Galileo and his close friend Giovanni Sagredo wrote to each other. So we've got Sagredo writing to Galileo, in case you were missing that. All right, it's not quite certain at what period Galileo invented the thermometer, but from the testimony of Benedetto Castelli, we think it to be about the year 1602. So they're saying they think he did invent the thermometer in the year 1602. But remember bias in writing. They're just saying they think. We're not saying that this is a fact right here. All right. It was first believed that Santorio was the inventor of this instrument. Sagredo, writing to Galileo in 1612, said this. Signor Mullo was at Puada for the feast of St. Anthony and told me he had seen an instrument made by Signor Santorio, with which heat and cold were measured. And at last he told me that it was a large glass bowl with a long neck. I began at once to make a vessel of this description, and I have succeeded in making some very handsome ones. Sagredo goes on to say that he enclosed a drawing of the best he had made, but unfortunately there's no trace of this drawing. So this right here, this is the Sagredo guy, not Galileo. When he's claiming to have invented it, he says that there's a drawing, but there's no trace of the drawing. We don't have any proof of that. So if this was like a trial so far, we don't have any proof. It's impossible to say precisely what instrument was invented by Santorio. In another letter of Sagredo on May 9, 1613, he distinctly describes the invention of the thermometer to Galileo thus. The instrument which you invented for measuring heat I have brought into various convenient and perfect forms, so that the difference of temperature between two rooms is seen as far as 100 degrees. So this guy is saying to Galileo that instrument that you invented. So that's in his writing. That's a little bit of proof. It would appear then that Sagredo had been ignorant of Galileo's discovery, and that Galileo, on hearing his description of Santorio's instrument, had proved that he had forestalled Santorio. It is also possible, though by no means certain, that both Santorio and Galileo invented the instrument at about the same time. All right. So ignorant is one of those negative words. So here it's saying that maybe Sagredo was ignorant or didn't pay attention to Galileo's discovery. It's one option, and that Galileo did it first. Or it's possible, though by no means certain. That sounds really wishy-washy, right? If I was like, it's possible, but by no means certain that you guys have to do your homework, you probably wouldn't do it. That both Santorio and Galileo invented the instrument at about the same time. Okay, so you have to pretend that you're a jury, and this is a case that you heard. If our question is he the inventor of the thermometer? I personally don't think that there is enough evidence. We might have some feelings, but I don't think we know for sure. All right, so I'm going to go back over here, and I'm going to say that evidence shows it is possible that Galileo was basically like he could have been one of the creators. He might have been working with someone else. Maybe it was him and that other guy at the same time. Evidence shows that it's possible that Galileo was, let's say, one of the creators of the thermometer. Okay, so there we go. That is, and then I correct my spelling. So right there, I see a lot of people turning in work that has misspellings, but the computer will help you. So you right click it, and then the real spelling pops up, and there you go. All right, so that was the gist of this article, right? He was a scientist and an inventor. He was a part of the creation of the thermometer. We just don't know to what extent. Now you're going to read Al Roker, and you're going to fill this in exactly the same way. And then we're going to look for similarities. Now you still have to read Al Roker, so the only similarity I could put in here is some background knowledge, and that's what I said in the beginning, that we know both men, Galileo was a man, are involved in weather forecasting. Thermometers help forecast the weather. Galileo helped with that. Al Roker is literally a meteorologist, so he forecasts weather. That's a similarity. Now for it's not tricky, but the part that I think we're more hung up on, your statement. So we have to combine information from text 1 and text 2 and sound super smart and big brained, okay? So of course you want to use a STEM. After reading both texts, I have learned that we can go with our first similarity basically, that Galileo and Al Roker are two men who were involved in forecasting weather. Okay, if you use my STEM, that's cool. If you find your own, that's cool too. But here's where it really matters. You need to use evidence from the text. So I know this because the Galileo text stated that Galileo may have was at least one of the people behind the creation of the thermometer. So that's my evidence from the first text. I could have used a quote, but since I'm stating information from the text, that works too. Now, that's only part of it. Now, you need to come in here and tell me, what about Al Roker? So in the biography about Al Roker, I learned ... That's on you though, because you're doing that part. And then this is like step 1 and 2, and you still need your reasoning. So we've got a STEM, we've got our evidence, and now you need your reasoning. So this information shows me that these two men were very influential in our ability to know the weather each day. All right. So again, this is missing the piece that you have to do from Al Roker, right? Like this isn't complete. But look at what, sorry, and look, I'm rereading, and it's okay if you make a mistake, but go back and look. So I know my picture is blocking this. I know, okay. So it would make more sense to say after reading the biography about Al Roker, I learned, okay? Please reread. It's always, you want to do that before you share anything with me. I know this because, take out this comma is what it wants me to do. Proofread. There you go. Okay. So think about the 2 articles you read and did this note catcher with last week, and then look at the information I have in here this week. And we're still missing 1 sentence in this yellow part right here. Yours should be just as detailed if you're really pushing yourself at home. And I know that this is a different learning environment, but we're still moving on next year, and you still want to be like the best you can be in middle school. So we got to give it our all. Okay. I have to kind of rely on you a lot right now, but I know you can do it. So there you go. I'll post this to YouTube. Hopefully it works. And I hope you all have a great day. Have fun with your Zoom with Mr. Molina. Adios.